this video, I would like to talk with you about creating your own custom audience. The first thing that you want to do in order to create your own custom audience is to click up here on the top right on this little arrow, and then afterwards scroll down and click on Create Ads. As soon as you do so, please go over to the left top corner, click on Ads Manager, and then go to Assets and then Audiences. You might be asking right now, what exactly is a custom audience and what exactly is a lookalike audience? I've heard that term before. If you haven't heard the term, don't worry about it. A custom audience basically is an audience that you created. It's basically an audience, for instance, people like that visited, for instance, your website, that engaged with your content, or for instance, it could actually be a physical customer. It could be phone numbers. If they match with Facebook profiles, then Facebook is basically going to target them. So it's all about people that you already reached once and you want to reach them again. A custom audience is basically there in order to do so-called retargeting. You already targeted them once. You somehow have information from them. So for instance, website visitors. You can, for instance, measure that through a so-called Facebook pixel. We are going to install it later on here in this course. But for instance, you install this little piece of code called Facebook pixel, and this one basically measures the traffic to your website and then basically creates an audience of all the people that are on your website, and that went to your website, and that is a so-called custom audience. You can also create this custom audience again with phone numbers. You can create it with interactions. So for instance, if people commented on your post or liked them, again, you can create from these kinds of people also a custom audience that you can then basically retarget, because the people that already like your content or that visited your website or already went to your sales page, all of these are people that are quite likely to buy from you or at least to consume more content by you. So you can retarget them and then get better results than targeting completely new people. So how exactly can you create basically a custom audience? Well, you just head over here to the left, click on Create Audience, and then Custom Audience. Now, before we start with that, I should perhaps talk a little bit about the relationship between a custom audience and a lookalike audience. Now, let's for instance say you get 100 people to your website. 100 people click on your website and, click around on it. They don't necessarily do anything. They don't buy anything, but at least you have them on your website. If you have at least 100 people on your website that visit your website within, I think, the last 180 days, then you can create a custom audience. And if you say these people are representative for a larger group of people that could be interested in this kind of product or in my website, then you can create a so-called lookalike. So let's for instance say the 100 people that went to your website are all men. They are all, let's say, interested in soccer, and they are all from Germany. Then what you could do is you could not just basically retarget these 100 men again, but basically target all men that are interested in soccer, interested in another certain subject that your initial target group was interested in. And you can basically take these 100 people and apply all of their interest to Germany or to the entire world. And based on that, you can create a much bigger audience. And that is the so-called lookalike audience, because this audience looks like your custom audience. So what I want to do with you right now is I want to click with you on custom audience. And then basically we can decide from which kind of source we are going to take information from. So whether it's a customer file, use a customer file to match your customers with people on Facebook and create an audience from the matches. The data will be hashed prior to upload. Then website traffic, create a list of people who visited your website or took specific actions using Facebook Pixel. So this of course only applies if you already have this little piece of code called Facebook Pixel installed. We're gonna look at that actually in the next chapter. So I'm gonna show you step by step how to do that. And then I'll of course also show you how to use a custom audience together with a Facebook Pixel. Then we got app activity, create a list of people who launched your app or a game or took specific actions. Then offline activity, which I think is very interesting. Create a list of people who interacted with your business in store, by phone, or through other offline channels. And then we got engagement down here, create a list of people who engaged with your content on Facebook or on Instagram. And this is, for instance, something we could do. So we click on this, and then afterwards we can basically decide from which kind of content we want people to engage with. So for instance, in this case, I could choose, let's say, Facebook page, create a list of people who have interacted with your page on Facebook. We could do that. And for instance, we could use, let's say, my page, one of my bigger pages. Let's see, I could perhaps use my business page, or, well, my personal page, Leon Chaudhry. So I include people who meet any of the following criteria. These people must have interacted with the page Leon Chaudhry. So everyone who engaged with your page within the last 365 days. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to name this custom audience, and I could, for instance, name it Leon Chaudhry custom audience. And then afterwards, what I do is I just click on create audience, and now I have my own custom audience created. So your custom audience was created. It may take a few minutes for us to finish matching your customers to people on Facebook. We'll notify you when the process is finished. You can also check the status in Audience Manager. So what exactly do they tell us? Well, when we go up here on Audiences and then the Audiences Manager, we can basically check out whether they already updated or not. Now, what you could do when you click, for instance, right here on Audiences, what they mean, this is basically what they mean by Audiences Manager. You can already see that this audience is existing already, but it is still populating. Let's see if we refresh this page, whether they then already have updated it. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, they're still populating it. But when we now actually head back to Facebook and we create a new ad, let's for instance say we want to create a traffic ad, then we click on create ads. Afterwards, we're going to pick the objective traffic ad. Then we're going to name it, let's say, traffic number 2, and click on continue, and we move on to the second ad level. Then we can actually use a custom audience right here. So when I scroll down and check this out right here, custom audiences, I can type in, for instance, Leon Chaudhry, custom audience. There we go. Then I can actually target these people. Of course, in my case, this audience is very, very small because the Facebook page is very small. If it's less than 1,000 people, then the audience size cannot be determined over here. So it says audience definition is unavailable. Nevertheless, of course, I still can actually target the people that interacted with this Facebook page. This is basically how you can create a custom audience. What I could now do is I could use this custom audience in order to create a much bigger so-called lookalike audience, but that is something that we're going to do later on here in this course. This is now the basics that is incredibly important for you to understand. You now understand how a custom audience works, how to create a target group, and you know exactly how to use, for instance, a Facebook page in order to create one of these custom audiences. And basically, you now know how to do retargeting, because the people that we now have in this custom audience, if we create this ad right now where we target this custom audience, what we're really doing is we're retargeting them because they already interacted with our Facebook page.